Hello and welcome to today's Hellraiser blog. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's blog, hit the subscribe button. We love growing the Hellraiser Boxing YouTube family. I'm going to talk today about Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz Jr. As you will have seen in the blog before the fight, I went into why I thought Andy Ruiz Jr. was probably not the best opponent for Anthony Joshua. I mean, we've seen him struggle previously against shorter guys who move their head and come forwards and sort of cramp his style a bit, and that was absolutely what happened with Andy Ruiz Jr. I thought Ruiz Jr., I mean, his tactics were very good from very early on. I thought Anthony Joshua, he boxed very poorly, like something wasn't really quite right, as if his game plan was a mile off. I mean, he had a loose left hand. I mean, I was a tall, skinny boxer, and I often would box with a loose left hand. But the thing that you have when you're boxing guys that do move their head and can move forwards and cramp you like that, you can't really do it with a loose left hand unless your feet are very quick side to side. It seemed like Joshua was sort of half stuck between trying to box him at range and trying to keep, and there was nothing in his jab. You know, you're fighting a guy that's you know, got massive disadvantages reach-wise. I think you have to force him to gamble, not you gamble. Force him to gamble. Keep him on the outside. How do you do that? You throw the jab. There's different kinds of jabs. There's like the jab that Joshua was using was almost like a range-finding, sort of poking, radar-like left hand. That's never going to work against a guy like Andy Ruiz, who's short and stocky. You need to really establish very early on in the fight that you can hurt him with the jab, and that means being sure to hit him. Now, Joshua was actually throwing the jab at Ruiz's head, which I think was a mistake. He should have thrown it at his chest, because then very quickly Ruiz Jr. would have understood, right, that jab is something special, which we know Joshua's got a very powerful jab. And Ruiz Jr. would have seen that and would have understood, right, I now have to stay out of the way of that jab, or rush in, be from miles out of range from his jab. Because for Ruiz, the tactic had to be, is very simple for a short guy like that, has to be either be right out, like so far away that even Joshua can't land the jab, or right in, where you're so close that actually having the shorter piston-like arms is going to be an advantage against Joshua's sort of longer, more gangly arms. Joshua didn't have really seemed to me like a set game plan. He went in there thinking, I think, he was just going to sort of poke his way ahead on points and take him out. And I've got to say, even though, I mean, for me, Joshua was losing the fight throughout. I didn't get him at any point, oh, you're in front now. I thought he was behind. I mean, I saw a scorecard which had Joshua ahead. How on earth that can happen, I cannot understand, because he definitely wasn't ahead. He sort of, like I say, he poked with his jab. He allowed Ruiz to build up momentum very quickly, because Ruiz just realised, you know, right, if that's all he's going to throw, of course I'm going to come, rather than opt for staying out of range. He's going to take that gamble a lot earlier. And really, if you've hit the guy with solid jabs, then you've got something to work with, because you can dummy, you can feint the jab. When you feint the jab, if you've hit him with a hard jab, even if it hit him in the chest, in the shoulder, in the arm, wherever, when you then, next time you feint the jab, the guy's going to be aware, right, that's a solid punch. But when you're just poking out an arm shot like that, the guy very quickly begins to build confidence and realise and fancy the job. Even when Joshua put him over, I don't know, Joshua just didn't seem to have, right, I mean, for a tall guy fighting a short one, you want to keep them at long range, wear them down a little bit, and then look to land the big shots and cut the ring off and position them in the places where you want them, i.e. in the corners, on the ropes, away from the centre of the ring. Here Joshua, he seemed content to just be sort of poking with his punches. Even when Joshua went down the first time, I mean, I thought even when he was losing the fight, before he went sort of to pieces, I thought it's just a matter of time before Joshua will land like a big shot, and he'll turn it round, and that will be, you know, he wins. Right up to the end, and I thought it was a very soft ending. I thought it was premature. To be honest, when he stopped it, I thought Joshua looked very dazed. He didn't show any signs of wanting to continue. When he's standing in the corner, right, boxer puts his hands on the top ropes, not a good sign. That's the guy wants out. And you've got to understand that referees, they are looking for signs. They're looking for little signals, being able to read between the lines, because their priority has to be don't let the boxer get hurt. When a fighter, towards the end of the count, puts his hands on the top rope, and yeah, forget it. I mean, that's it. He's going to come out. Huge amount of money down the drain. I mean, Eddie Hearn's face afterwards, I mean, he looked like a guy that someone just drained $2 million out of his bank account, and there's probably a good reason for that. I mean, I'd imagine he's fairly furious at this moment in time at Jarrell Miller, because that was the architect of his downfall. The big problem I think they had is that they had to sort of clutch at straws, and easy to talk sort of wisely after the event, but certainly if I was promoting or managing Joshua, I'd have had, if not the chief support, I'd have had another big fight on the card with 2 top 20 ranked heavyweights. Yes, it's going to cost us some money out of the budget, but we pay that for a reason. In the contract you put, right, if the main event falls apart, you put one of these 2 in, and the 2 that you take would be 2 that would be the kind of guys that you want to put in with Joshua, i.e. not an Andy Ruiz Jr. who looked awful physically. There's no way round it. He looked like he sort of trained in a donut factory, even though actually he can fight, and that's been the case. I mean, from early on, people have seen that, but that he can fight. But achoo, pardon me, it's only the hardcore boxing fans that really knew that. The guys that you reach out to buy pay-per-view, the casual fans, they would have looked at Ruiz and think, well, who's this guy? You know, he looks overweight, looks significantly overweight. How is he going to beat this sort of remarkable, perfect athlete in Anthony Joshua? Well, how you do it is you make sure you're fit, you're ready, you accept the fight. I don't actually know the contractual terms that they have, but obviously in America you've got this ABC legislation which actually bans mandatory rematches, but I would imagine they'll have a rematch. They'll have a rematch clause, and they will have a rematch. The thing is, yes, Joshua, I mean, I'd imagine the rematch will be in London, because one thing you get with like Olympic level boxers is, one, they all know how to make weight. Well, that's irrelevant to heavyweights, they don't really have to make weight. 2, they all travel well. Well, Joshua there looked like a sort of a trademark example of a guy who doesn't travel well. He boxed way below par. He didn't assert himself. He was unable to take control, take the initiative, to dictate things with his jab, which is a massive asset that he has. And when he was hurt, for me, his body language was saying, I want to get out of here, not I want to get right back at him, which if he'd have been at home, I think you'd have got a different reaction. That's just a gut feeling I have. He would have really wanted to fight to the end there, and I think marketing wise this does damage to Joshua, because when it actually, this is probably the biggest test that he's had of his heart, and a lot of people will look at that and say, well, yeah, when he got hit, when someone started firing back at him, he came apart very quickly and didn't really put up the fight. I mean, look, if you think of like Muhammad Ali, of Joe Frazier, George Foreman, these guys, even Foreman in defeat against Ali, he built a legacy for himself on his heart. This was a warrior. This was a guy that when things started going wrong, he dug deep and he pulled out all the stops and did what he could. Even, okay, if Ali beat him, but he still fought to the bitter end. Joshua looked like casual, you know, like, yeah, the referee sort of asked me this, you know, will I continue, will I not, will it go on? I think that damages the marketability of Joshua, because people will not see him now as the boxing machine that they did before. And it's very difficult, I mean, as we saw with Mike Tyson, you know, once that image, that representation of the fighter has been destroyed, at that point it becomes very difficult to rebuild, and very difficult to put the psychological edge that it brings over opponents, because opponents in the future will just hope that, you know, it's their day, their lucky day, and he comes out flicking the jab again. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that was my my assessment of last night's fight. Be interesting to see, and it's going to blow everything wide open, because Ortiz, as I understand it, is linked with PBC, with Al Heyman, which you can bet your bottom dollar that they won't be making it easier for Joshua now. They'll be doing their utmost to bring in Wilder, to bring in everybody else, and whereas before it was like other people coming cap in hand to Joshua and Eddie Hearn, now it's going to be Eddie Hearn and Joshua. And from a promoter and a management point of view, you often find out how good a manager or promoter is when the chips are down. Because if you get handed a Sky deal and an Olympic Games gold medalist, very easy to walk around, you know, being the best boxing promoter if he goes on to win a world title. Now you're going to have to use skill, guile, negotiation skills to get that rematch nailed on. They're going to need to make technical adjustments, because it wasn't like Joshua was caught by a freak punch. He was pulled apart. He was outboxed. He was in some ways schooled, you know. I mean, he was put under pressure and could not cope with it. He gassed out, he looked for ways out, he submitted very easily compared to what we probably would hope to happen when you're a defending world heavyweight champion. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the blog, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the Hellraiser Boxing blog very soon, I hope. Thank you very much. Bye bye.